The genus Allium comprises monocotyledonous flowering plants and includes the onion, garlic, chives, scallion, shallot, and the leek as well as hundreds of wild species. The generic name Allium is the Latin word for garlic, and Linnaeus first described the genus Allium in 1753. Some sources refer to Greek I plus or minus II micron I per mil by reason of the smell of garlic. The cooking and consumption of parts of the plants is due to the large variety of flavors and textures of the species. Various allium have been cultivated from the earliest times and about a dozen species are economically important as crops, or garden vegetables, and an increasing number of species are important as ornamental plants. The inclusion of a species to the genus Allium is taxonomically difficult and species boundaries are unclear. Estimates of the number of species have been as low as 260, and as high as 979. Most authorities accept about 750 species. The type species for the genus is Allium sativum. Allium species occur in temperate climates of the northern hemisphere, except for a few species occurring in Chile, Brazil, and tropical Africa. They vary in height between 5 cm and 150 cm. The flowers form an umbel at the top of a leafless stalk. The bulbs vary in size between species, from small to rather large. Some species develop thickened leaf bases rather than forming bulbs as such. Plants of the Allium genus produce chemical compounds that give them a characteristic onion or garlic taste and odor. Many are used as food plants, though not all members of the genus are equally flavorous. In most cases, both bulb and leaves are edible and the taste may be strong or weak, depending on the species and on ground sulfur content. In the rare occurrence of sulfur-free growth conditions, all Allium species lose their usual pungency altogether. In the APG3 classification system, Allium is placed in the family Amaryllidaceae, subfamily Alioideae. In some of the older classification systems, Allium was placed in Liliaceae. Molecular phylogenetic studies have shown this circumscription of Liliaceae is not monophyletic. Allium is one of about 57 genera of flowering plants with more than 500 species. It is by far the largest genus in the Amaryllidaceae, and also in the Alliaceae in classification systems in which that family is recognized as separate. Description: Allium species are herbaceous perennials with flowers produced on scapes. They grow from solitary or clustered tunicate bulbs and many have an onion odor and taste. Plants are perennialized by bulbs that reform annually from the base of the old bulb, or are produced on the ends of rhizomes or, in a few species, at the ends of stolons. A small number of species have tuberous roots. The bulb's outer coats are commonly brown or gray, with a smooth texture, and are fibrous, or with cellular reticulation. The inner coats of the bulbs are membranous. Many alliums have basal leaves that commonly wither away from the tips downward before or while the plants flower, but some species have persistent foliage. Plants produce from 1 to 12 leaves, most species having linear, channeled or flat leaf blades. The leaf blades are straight or variously coiled, but some species have broad leaves, including A. victorialis and A. tricoccum. The leaves are sessile, and very rarely narrowed into a petiole. The flowers are erect or in some species pendant, having 6 petal-like tepals produced in 2 whorls. The flowers have 1 style and 6 epipetallous stamens. The anthers and pollen can vary in color depending on the species. The ovaries are superior, and 3-lobed with 3 locules. The fruits are capsules that open longitudinally along the capsule wall between the partitions of the locule. The seeds are black, and have a rounded shape. The terete or flattened flowering scapes are normally persistent. The inflorescences are umbels, in which the outside flowers bloom first and flowering progresses to the inside. Some species produce bulbils within the umbels, and in some species, such as Allium paradoxum, the bulbils replace some or all the flowers. The umbels are subtended by noticeable spathe bracts, which are commonly fused and normally have around 3 veins. Some bulbous alliums increase by forming little bulbs or offsets around the old one, as well as by seed. Several species can form many bulbils in the flower head. In the so-called tree onion, or Egyptian onion. The bulbils are few, but large enough to be pickled. Many of the species of allium have been used as food items throughout their ranges. There are several poisonous species that are somewhat similar in appearance, but none of these has the distinctive scent of onions or garlic. Taxonomy: with over 800 species, allium, the sole genus in the alεω tribe, is one of the largest monocotyledonous genera, but the precise taxonomy of allium is poorly understood, with incorrect descriptions being widespread. However, the genus has been shown to be monophyletic, containing 3 major clades, although some proposed subgenera are not. Allium includes a number of taxonomic groupings previously considered separate genera. Allium spicatum had been treated by many authors as Millula spicata, the only species in the monospecific genus Millula. In 2000, it was shown to be embedded in allium. History: when Linnaeus formally described the genus Allium in his Species Plantrum, there were 30 species with this name. He placed allium in a grouping he referred to as Exandria monogynia, containing 51 genera in all. Subdivision: Linnaeus originally grouped his 30 species into 3 alliances, for example Phleus qualinis plaunis. Since then many attempts have been made to divide the growing number of recognized species into infrageneric subgroupings, initially as sections, and then as subgenera further divided into sections. The modern era of phylogenetic analysis dates to 2006, when Friesen described a new classification with 15 subgenera, 72 sections and about 780 species based on the nucleoribosomal gene. Its nucleoribosomal ITS. Some of the subgenera correspond to the once separate genera included in Gillesii. Subsequent molecular phylogenetic studies have shown the 2006 classification is a considerable improvement over previous classifications, but some of his subgenera and sections are probably not monophyletic. One of these studies focused on the subgenus Amaryllium, which is strongly supported as monophyletic. Another study focused on Allium ampuloprasum and its relatives within the section Allium of subgenus Allium. Sampling in this study was not sufficient to test the monophyly of section Allium. The major evolutionary lineages correspond to the 3 major clades. Lineage 1 with 3 subgenera are predominantly bulbous, the second, with 5 subgenera, and the third with 7 subgenera contain both bulbous and rhizomatous taxa. Subgenera: the 3 lineages and 15 subgenera represent the classification scheme of Friesen and Lee. Lineage 1, Nectaroscordum type, Allium siculum, Microscordum N. Friesen type, Allium monanthem, Amaryllium traub type, Allium canadense. Lineage 2, Coloscordum RM Fritsch type, Allium neraniflorum, Anguinum N. Friesen type, Allium victorialis, Porphyroprasen RM Fritsch type, Allium aureophyllum, Wiedenskia RM Fritsch type, Allium caducans, Melanachromium rui type, Allium nigrum. Lineage 3, Butamissa N. Friesen type, Allium ramosum, Cyathophora RM Fritsch type, Allium cyathophorum, Rhiziiridium wendelbo SS type, Allium senescens, Allium L type, Allium sativum, Reticulata bulbosa N. Friesen type, Allium linear, Polyprasen radic type, Allium moscatum, Cepa radic I type, Allium cepa. Species: Species include distribution and habitat. The majority of allium species are native to the northern hemisphere, being spread throughout the Holarctic region, from dry subtropics to the boreal zone, but predominantly in Asia. Of the latter, 138 species occur in China, about a sixth of all species, representing 5 subgenera. A few species are native to Africa and Central and South America. A single known exception, Allium drogenum, occurs in the southern hemisphere. There are 2 centers of diversity, a major one from the Mediterranean basin to Central Asia and Pakistan, while a minor one is found in western North America. Ecology: species grow in various conditions from dry, well-drained mineral-based soils to moist, organic soils. Most grow in sunny locations, but a number also grow in forests, or even in swamps or water. Various allium species are used as food plants by the larvae of the leek moth and onion fly, as well as some Lepidoptera including cabbage moth, common swift moth, garden dart moth, large yellow underwing moth, nutmeg moth, Cetaceous Hebrew character moth, turnip moth and Shinya rosea, a moth that feeds exclusively on allium species. Cultivation. Many allium species have been harvested through human history, but only about a dozen are still economically important today as crops or garden vegetables. Ornamental equals, many allium species and hybrids are cultivated as ornamentals. These include A. Christophe and A. giganteum, which are used as border plants for their ornamental flowers, and their architectural qualities. Several hybrids have been bred, or selected, with rich purple flowers. A. hollandicum purple sensation is one of the most popular and has been given an award of garden merit. These ornamental onions produce spherical umbels on single stalks in spring and summer, in a wide variety of sizes and colors, ranging from white, blue, to yellow and purple. By contrast, other species can become troublesome garden weeds. The hybrid cultivars Beauregard, Gladiator, and Globemaster have gained the Royal Horticultural Society's Award of Garden Merit. Toxicity. Dogs and cats are very susceptible to poisoning after the consumption of certain species. Uses. The genus includes many economically important species. These include onions, French shallots, leeks, scallions, and herbs such as garlic and chives. Some have been used as traditional medicines. References. Bibliography. External links, WCSP. World Checklist of selected plant families. Allium at, Index Nominum Genericorum at, references at, NMNH Department of Botany, Bloomster.com Florist Community.